Hello everyone, I'm Momo from the Tax Universe. In our last video, we mentioned something called the double Irish with a Dutch sandwich. You would think it's a new McDonald's item. No, it's actually one of the most famous tax strategies in modern history, used by some of the biggest tech and pharmaceutical companies in the world. It's a strategy that exploited gaps between international tax systems and let companies move billions of dollars of profit into tax havens, completely legally. And since that video, I've gotten a lot of questions like, what exactly is this double Irish thing? How did companies like Google and Apple pull this off? So I thought, let's break it down once and for all. If you want to sound intelligent, globally aware, and well-informed about how international companies actually move their money around, this is your video. So grab your coffee and let's dive into how this legendary tax loophole worked, how it shaped global tax reform, and why it eventually got shut down. But before we get into how the double Irish and Dutch sandwich actually works, let's first talk about why it mattered and how massive its impact was. In simple terms, this strategy allowed some of the largest U.S. tech companies to shift profits out of high-tax countries and pay close to zero corporate taxes on billions of dollars in earnings. In the United States, the federal corporate tax rate sits at 21% today. But when you look at what big tech actually pays, it's far lower. Meta paid around 11.8%, Amazon about 13.5%, and Google's parent company, Alphabet, roughly 15.5%, all well below the statutory rate. And these aren't one-off years. For over a decade, these companies used international structures like the double Irish to keep profits offshore, often in places like Bermuda, where the corporate tax rate is literally zero. Take Apple as an example. According to a European Commission investigation, Apple's effective tax rate on its European profits in 2014 was just 0.005%. That means for every $1 million of profit, it paid only $50 in tax. Researchers estimated that U.S. multinational corporations shifted over $100 billion in profits annually into tax havens through arrangements like the double Irish with a Dutch sandwich, resulting in an estimated $40 billion in U.S. tax revenue losses per year. Now that we understand how massive the impact was, let's get to the fun part, how this strategy actually worked. So the double Irish with a Dutch sandwich tax planning strategy is a multi-jurisdictional profit-shifting structure, leveraging Section 7701 of the U.S. Internal Revenue Code, Articles 5 and 7 of the OECD Model Treaty, and the Irish Finance Act residency rules. Easy to understand, right? Yeah, I know. You're probably ready to close the video and block me forever. I'm kidding. That was me trolling you. Let's make this simple, through a story. Let's say Microsoft Europe just made $100 billion selling Microsoft Office subscriptions across Europe. With a 35% tax rate in most European countries, that's $35 billion in tax, roughly 7 times the net worth of Mark Cuban. You can imagine Bill Gates isn't happy. So he calls his tax team. Guys, how do we pay less tax? First up is Bob, the overconfident tax manager. He says, Bill, Bermuda has a 0% corporate tax rate. Let's move our intellectual property there. Microsoft Bermuda can charge Microsoft Europe $100 billion in royalties. Europe's profit then becomes zero, and the royalty income land in Bermuda tax-free. Smart, right? Can I get a promotion, please? Bill stares at him and says, Bob, are you crazy? Bermuda doesn't even have proper intellectual property laws. If our patents get messed up there, who's going to fix them? You? With sunscreen? Bob is now sweating harder than his pitch. Then steps in Mike, the smart one. Bill, I have a better idea. Let's move our IP to Ireland. It has a great legal system, strong IP protection, and only a 12.5% corporate tax instead of 35%. What's even better is that Ireland only taxes companies whose central management is located in Ireland. So if we set up an Irish company but manage it from Bermuda, it's technically not an Irish tax resident. We get the best of both worlds, Ireland's robust IP law and Bermuda's zero tax. Bill smiles. Mike, that's genius. Bob, take notes. Bob mutters, yeah, but that company wouldn't even have any real operations in Ireland. Won't that look like a scam to the Irish government? Mike grins. Easy fix. We'll set up a second Irish company that actually operates in Ireland with employees and sales. It'll sell Microsoft products in Europe and pay royalties to our first Irish company that holds the IP. Those royalties will wipe out the second Irish company's profits in Ireland, and the money lands in Bermuda untaxed. Legit business and perfect optics. Bill says, brilliant. Promotion for Mike. Bob smirks. Not so fast, Mikey. When your Irish company pays royalties to a non-resident company, Ireland charges a 30% withholding tax. That's $30 billion to the Irish government. I guess you're not as smart as you think. Mike answers, good point, Bob. But Ireland and the Netherlands have a special tax treaty, no withholding tax between them. So we'll just sandwich in a Dutch company between the two Irish ones. The second Irish company pays royalties to the Dutch one without withholding tax. And the Dutch company forwards them to the Bermuda-managed Irish company, which treats the income tax-free. Problem solved. Bob is speechless and Bill is delighted. Mike, this is brilliant. You've just saved us $30 billion. You are promoted. Bob, please pack your sunscreen and move to Bermuda permanently. And that, my friends, is how the double Irish with a Dutch sandwich was born, a delicious blend of legal loopholes and accounting wizardry. Now you might wonder, what about the United States? Wouldn't it still tax those offshore profits under its controlled foreign corporation and Subpart F rules? Yes, normally it would. But this part of U.S. tax law is complicated, and we won't go into all the details here. Let's just say the U.S. has something called the check-the-box rule, which lets companies treat certain foreign subsidiaries as if they don't exist for tax purposes. That made many of these cross-border payments invisible to the IRS, keeping the entire sandwich perfectly intact. And that's how billions of dollars in profits quietly disappeared from the global tax map for more than a decade. Of course, when some of the world's smartest tax lawyers and accountants design these kinds of structures for giant corporations, they don't exactly post them on LinkedIn. For years, almost nobody outside the corporate world knew what was happening until tax authorities and international organizations started digging. One of the main players here is the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. When the scale of the double Irish structure became clear, the OECD, along with the European Union, stepped in hard. The EU Commission accused Ireland of giving unfair tax deals to big tech companies like Apple, while the OECD launched a global project called BEPS, short for Base Erosion and Profit Shifting. The idea was simple: close loopholes that let profits disappear in zero-tax islands. Under international pressure, Ireland changed its laws in 2015. From then on, any company incorporated in Ireland would automatically be treated as tax resident in Ireland, ending the double Irish for new users. Across the Atlantic, the United States passed the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, introducing new rules like global intangible low-taxed income to make sure U.S. companies pay tax even on their offshore profits. So after years of headlines, investigations, and political drama, this famous loophole finally closed, at least officially. Though the loophole is now closed, it changed how countries cooperate on tax forever and remains one of the most iconic examples of corporate tax planning in history. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me next time for another interesting tax story.